do it, son. I help you, Amy.
Welcome back. For those of you that are new, my name is Brittany. I'm a homemaker and mom of 3, and I like to be in the kitchen. I am going to share a realistic what we actually eat in a day video with you today. So something that is kind of tempting, and with good reason, because you don't come here to see our boring meals normally, but you want to provide some value, some ideas. I know those are some of the videos I gravitate towards watching, just giving me ideas of different things to try in my kitchen and be creative. But on a normal basis, life just means making meals for us to eat 3 times a day and some snacks in between, and a lot of that just can't be super complicated. So I'm showing you today what we really do kind of eat when maybe the creativity isn't quite flowing, or even if it is a little bit, we can't stay in the kitchen 24/7. So today we are doing some eggs and oranges. This is a fairly well-balanced meal that we have on a fairly regular basis because my kids love eggs and oranges and chocolate milk. And I'm not going to complain because it is a simple meal to throw together pretty quickly, and I had to finally break down and get eggs from the store, which was a very sad moment. It's disheartening to be paying for chicken feed and feed your chickens and talk to them and, sing to them, whatever it takes to get them to lay eggs, and you still don't have enough. So we had to get eggs from the store because we rely on them a lot, and we were getting like 1 to 2 a day, just not cutting it for our family. So we did that, and it's really relieved a lot of stress because breakfast is kind of a tough one, especially if we're getting a late start to the day or if we have anything going that morning. So that's a great one for us. And now we are just going to do leftovers, which is honestly probably our lunchtime 90% of the time. I try to plan it that way so that I'm not having to make something for lunch. On occasion I'll do like a soup or something like that, but we are still at the stage where we will normally have leftovers from a meal I make. I will be sad the day that I make meals on a regular and do not have leftovers. But for now, I will enjoy making one meal and still having leftovers. So today we are doing chicken salad. As I've mentioned in other videos, I normally do about a chicken or 2 a week, and one of those chickens is usually for chicken salad or something of the sort, maybe barbecue chicken, just to have something easy for lunches. So this one, I normally do like grapes or some type of fruit like that. In the summer mostly with the grapes, but right now I believe in this one I had raisins and apples, and then I do celery seed, our homemade mayo, and some little onion, and that turns out so good every single time. I enjoy it. So we just put that on some leftover sourdough, which we really do try to have going. It just alleviates a lot of stress during lunchtime. I could always throw bread with something and make a complete meal. So that's what we're doing right now. I have some ready to throw in the oven here, so I'm just getting that ready. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but if you have any trouble with your parchment paper, all you gotta do is crumble it up. That's what I do each time, and then it actually sits there for you perfectly. And so just so that doesn't bother you to do, it is a good trick for not having your parchment paper try to curl up on you. So this one, I don't remember if it over fermented or if I just need to change up my blade in my little scoring tool there, but it was really dragging. So it turned out just fine, but that's why you will see the tool just kind of like pulling, but we work with it. I honestly don't put a ton of effort into sourdough unless I am giving it to someone or something like that. We just do what we can, and it all just kind of tastes the same, and it's always delicious. I've even started doing my bread in a cast iron instead of my Dutch oven, It's just a little bit more accessible since I always have my cast irons out, and a lot of times I've needed my Dutch oven for dinner, but then not have it because I'm, trying to heat it up for bread. So I do that, and I honestly don't really see much of a difference in the rise anymore. So a couple ice cubes in there and it does just fine. I've wanted one of those cute little timers for a while now, and I got one for Christmas, so I just had to showcase it there, give it its moment of spotlight. So we've got this bread coming out of the oven, and it is looking perfect. So I wasn't even doing this for bread this evening or anything like that. Just like I said, I try to get some going when it's convenient to do so and when I think about it and plan ahead, because it just doesn't go to waste. And even if we don't need it that evening, we use it the next day. So what we're going to be making for dinner today is some salmon patties or salmon croquettes or salmon sandwiches. I don't know what you want to call it. I've heard it many different ways, but I am not a huge salmon fan. I love it when it's given a lot of attention and butter and seasonings and all of that. I'm not that good at making fish. I will be completely honest with you. I haven't had really any interest in trying to get good at making fish because we're just not huge fish people, but it's so good for you. And I really just want to keep our nutrition balanced and stuff. So I do try to incorporate it into at least, every other week or so. And one of those ways I like to do that is salmon patties. I grew up on salmon patties, and I'm sure a lot of you did as well, with canned salmon. And I did not know there was another way to do that. I thought salmon just came out of the sea and went straight in the can. So now that I've had salmon patties with fresh salmon, I've realized how delicious they truly can be, which anything, if you dip it in ketchup, is delicious in my opinion, which is how I grew up doing it. But I definitely think there is something to be said of fresh salmon with sourdough breadcrumbs and fresh seasonings and onion and a homemade mayo. It just has a different feel to it completely. So that is what we're doing today. This is so easy to throw together. That's another benefit of doing fish. If you are better than me and can actually enjoy it and find ways to cook it the right way, it can be really tasty. So this is just kind of our tried and true. Throw it in the oven, bake it. I can't really mess that up. And then we shred it up and put it in the bowl with the other items. Those sourdough breadcrumbs, I actually try to have those in the freezer. As you saw, I got that bag out. I have those in the freezer from different loaves where there will be little bits here and there that just kind of start getting stale. So I'll go ahead and just crumble them up, or at least make them in big cubes or something, and I'll put them in a freezer bag. And then when I do need them, they are there, and of course thaw very quickly, and I can just toast them in the oven. So here I'm making our mayo. I will link a recipe in the description. I use the Farmhouse on Boone recipe, but I've adapted it a little bit since then, but that's an awesome one to use. So I just kind of use what I have on hand, and I've started adding a little bit of whey because we always have whey in the fridge now, and that helps it last a lot longer because most of the time I'm just making it for the meal that I'm using it for, but sometimes we have a little bit left over, and it's nice to have on sandwiches here and there because I do love mayo, but no one in my family really does mayo too much, so it's helpful that it lasts a little bit longer. So in addition to those salmon patties, we're going to have macaroni and cheese. My kids, like most kids I'm sure, love macaroni and cheese, and so I just figured I would throw some together tonight. It's actually fairly simple to do, almost as simple as a boxed macaroni, and I just happen to have some macaroni noodles around, so we did that. But you can see how you really just give it a few minutes to cool that salmon and just blend it up in there. I had my mayo here, And I just kind of do it, I eyeball it. It's not really, it's kind of more of a to taste thing. So I do the mayo that has some mustard in it, and then I add different seasonings that we like or that I have on hand. Especially in the summer, I like using a lot of fresh herbs. They taste so light that way, even when you're searing them in the pan. So just use what you have on hand. Can't really go wrong with garlic and onion and salt and pepper. And we used basil this time. And then sometimes I'll just do like a little hint of cayenne or Cajun seasoning, just to add just a little hint of flavor there. Not too much, because gotta let the kids eat it too. So I just get a little roux going here. Just the butter and the flour, and add some milk. I didn't have any cream or anything this time, but this is our farm milk, so it is plenty thick enough, and we don't really worry about that. So yeah, these just will sear on the pan and be done fairly quickly. It's getting close to dinner time, but I don't like doing these ahead because they just taste the best fresh. So I just had these ingredients all ready and prepped, and then we throw them on the pan when we're ready. This is probably a little weird, but I think making sauces is one of my favorites, especially a cheese sauce. You can make it so luxurious and creamy and thick so easily. And there's just something about like that velvety texture that just makes me happy. So I'm going to add salt, pepper. I did a little red pepper in there, just a little bit, just enough to give it kind of a kick, but not so much that the kids are going to notice and not want to eat it. And I actually ended up making a lot more than we needed for that night on purpose, because then the next night I did an old school recipe from my kid days, tuna casserole. So if you're an 80s, 90s kids, you know exactly what I am talking about. And I tell you what, it gets even better when you use like real macaroni and not box macaroni. So pro tip there, add some cans of tuna to your leftover macaroni and some peas, and you have a delightful meal. So there it is, guys. We have a realistic day. This is what we eat. This is how we eat, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope to see you back next time. I love getting to hang out with you guys, so make sure you subscribe so I can see you again.